Hey guys, Super Nicktendo here, and a couple of weeks ago I visited the Galloping Ghost in Brookfield, Illinois. It's about 20 miles outside of Chicago and is home to over 600 arcade games. Most of them are games that existed in American arcades from the 70s all the way up until the 90s. This is essentially a museum of games that you can play. The best part is you can play all the games you want for $20 a day. That's right, $20 for as long as you want to play. All of the games are free to play, so you can play one game that you grew up with as a kid, or you can play a whole bunch of games that you never knew existed. Now, I grew up in a small town that didn't have a huge arcade. My experience with arcade games was just whatever 4 cabinets the bowling alley had while my dad bowled on Sundays. The Galloping Ghost opened in 2010 with 130 games saved from closing arcades. They received the largest arcade in the US award in 2014 when they reached 440 games. Now they're gigantic with 620 games. So this place is a trip. The outside is unsuspecting with a non-flashy sign. Come in and you're already in the zone with a big F-Zero GX racer to the right and some 4-player arena game to the left. You pay your $20 and you're ready to go. But hold on to your receipt because you can come and go as you please. There's no re-entry fee, which is pretty handy because at about 3 hours in, I started to get pretty hungry. There's no outside food or drink allowed, but they do sell soda and candy at the front desk for a reasonable price. This place has a ton of games that I've never heard of before, and they have games that are classics like Tempest, and even games that aren't actual retail arcade games, like this Left 4 Dead machine and this StarCraft bullet hell shooter called Missioncraft. There are others like Ikaruga and Death Smiles, both that would work in an arcade setting, but didn't get an actual arcade cabinet release. There's also some pinball machines and a huge motion shooter that's all in Japanese, and I found out that it was Castlevania afterwards. They're also an official site for world record attempts. You need to follow specific rules, but there are a handful of world records that were set at Galloping Ghost. So no matter what your skill set, there's something for you here. But that isn't to say that the Galloping Ghost doesn't have some faults. Not all games are working, but that pales in comparison to the games that actually are working. These games are subjected to a lot of wear and tear, but luckily they have people who know how to repair them to bring them back to working order shortly. Plus, some games are just so rare that if they break, it might take some time for actual working parts to arrive. Another downside is that when this place gets crowded, it gets hard to maneuver. I've been going to this place every couple of years, and each time I go, it gets bigger and smaller at the same time. They expand, but it gets difficult to play games side by side or even across the aisle. If you need to move from one place to another, there are just some areas so jammed with people that you have to go the other way back. And as a result, there just doesn't seem to be any specific layout. Sure, Nintendo, Pac-Man, and Street Fighter have their own rows, but otherwise it's hard to find your specific game. But if you do have trouble, the staff does know where each cabinet is, so they can point you into the general location. Hopefully they'll move into a larger area, or just build a multi-level building so it's spread out. Parking is also kind of a pain. There's a parking lot for 15 cars, and all others need to park in the neighborhood. But at least it's free. So I would highly recommend you check out the Galloping Ghost. If you live in the Chicagoland area, there's really no excuse for you not to make the drive out here. And if you're visiting Chicago and have a rental car, it's very easy to find off our major interstates. So that's my take on Galloping Ghost in Brookfield, Illinois. What did you think? Have you been there? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you like this video, give it a like, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for future content. I'm Super Nicktendo, and thanks for watching.